I'm going to share with you the top 3 reasons why failure is actually your friend. The number one reason that failure is your friend is because every single failure is guiding you to your divine purpose. Our purpose is blind to us for many reasons, predominantly because we, over time, have acquired so many mental expectations on who we're supposed to be, who we are as an identity, and we have these understandings about what it means to truly succeed in life, right? And with that being said, we pursue everything from a place of need, a place of lacking, a place of I have to get there or get that and then I'll be happy or fulfilled or satisfied or successful. And the problem with this is that it leaves us in this everlasting search for what we're really after is fulfillment. True success is fulfillment. And we go about trying to get this in so many different ways that never really truly satisfy. And if we're not recognizing that every single mistake, every single failure, every single letdown that seems to happen in our journey is actually a gift that is a feedback system that the universe has to show you that there's some shifting that needs to happen on your end, whether it be in the world, out in the outer world, or in the inner world, your beliefs, your mindset, your emotions, your health. And so they are always, not just sometimes, but always key indicators that there are some levels of transformation that are needed for you to move closer in alignment with what your true purpose is. And the universe is so beautiful and perfect that it is actually giving you the exact things needed to point you in that direction. Now, I'm going to give you an example of this in my story. Hey, my friend, I just wanted to pop in here and say thank you so much for watching my videos. It's a brand new channel, and I'm very grateful to have you here. If it's in any value to you whatsoever, I would be very grateful for your subscribe, your like, and definitely leave a comment. I want to communicate with you and connect with you a lot more and discover what it is that you're going through on your journey to awakening your truth. I'm very grateful that you're here, and I'll let you get back to the video. So lots of peace and love and blessings. There was an aspect of my career in music where I was working with a lot of different types of musicians that were all part of this big band that I had, and very eclectic, very amazing vision, powerful songs that I had been writing. And I always say I'm channeling songs because I don't write them, they just kind of come to me, right? And I had been going through a lot of different spiritual awakenings and levels of understanding of how the universe worked, and my connection to this pull, this love, this deep experience that I had been having since I was a very young child, that I knew I was meant for some great purpose of spiritual attainment, of connecting to a higher level of understanding, of purpose, of service, of divine love. And in that process, I had been attracting to me all these different people who were in alignment to some extent with that vision, but also had the musical chops, right? Had the ability to hang with me while playing these songs that I had orchestrated and composed through these messages, right, that I was getting. Throughout that time, there was a lot of different things that were going on with a lot of the members, whether it be with their different substance abuse, alcoholism, relationships that were all being brought to the setting of the music that, as we all hear, drugs, sex, and rock and roll, right? The old saying. It started to happen like that in many ways. And it got to a point where I was just so fed up with all of it that I basically just called it quits with all of them. It came to a point where I just couldn't take it anymore. I still am friends with all of them, but it was this moment where I knew that it wasn't in alignment anymore with what my purpose was, and I felt like it was an extreme failure. I felt like I had failed and my dream was shattered, and I didn't know if I was ever going to make it through it, right? But in this time, I had time to reflect. I had a lot of things happen in this time frame where, deepened in my purpose in spirituality, I discovered a method of meditation that I had embarked on finally through a book that I'd had for a very long time that I had just been reluctant to read, and I finally dove into this book that it was called The Path of the Masters, and it guided me in the direction that I knew I was being called to my whole life, basically. Finally, I had deepened in my roots, deepened in my purpose, had time to reflect. It gave me time to understand the direction that I really truly needed to go in. And this is a great example of how the universe, will shatter things that are not meant for you. And it seems very detrimental. It seems so hard to go through those things. But then we realize that it's actually for our greater good. And so that leads us to that second reason that failure is so powerful and so much of a gift, is because it gives you that time for reflection and rest. It's tied to the first one, but this reflection and rest is so important because you're going to have this realization that all of these failures happen due to you not being your true self. And for you to obtain success, you must be ready for it. If you don't have that reflection and rest, the success, if it comes too early, you would not be ready for it. And that reflection and rest allows you to have insight and understanding on all the aspects of yourself that you were lacking in, the things you could have dealt with better, things you could have not compromised on, not settled for less than what was truly what your vision was, right? If you'd never reflected on those things that you may have made rash decisions on, or you may have moved forward with something that you weren't quite sure in, but you kind of had the intuition, but you moved forward anyway, you wouldn't have had the insight if you don't reflect and rest. That was the biggest takeaway for me, was this reflection and rest that laid the foundation for me to start having inner insight, having inner messages, having connection through different meditation and prayer, to connect deeper to who I truly was. And if we don't give ourselves that opportunity, then we're running the hamster wheel of success, right? The hamster wheel of success leaves you constantly chasing a mirage that you will never ever get. You will never ever achieve what you think you're trying to achieve because it doesn't exist. You're chasing something that's not real. And you think that you're going to get fulfillment out of this quote unquote success, but when you get there, you still feel empty. So the number 3 reason, it teaches you endurance. It gives you endurance. It primes you to be able to endure anything, to be able to go through anything. And a great example of this was as I was growing up, I was always very skilled and talented automatically at whatever it was that I tried to do. And so I would try these new sports and I would be really good at it, and I would just thrive at it, right? And my younger brother or my cousins, my foster brothers and sisters we all were raised by my grandma, they maybe didn't have as much of a natural inclination towards things. And so what happened was I would just, thrive and thrive and thrive and win and win and win and succeed and, dominate. And they would come to this point where they would be defeated and fail so many times. And some of them would give up. But those who kept going and going and going and going and going and just kept enduring, getting back up. My brother included is a great example. My brother, my one blood brother, he had a different skill. He had persistence. And he had tactic. And he used those to his advantage, and he didn't let himself give up. What this did was this enabled him to eventually, over time, as I'm like skating through easy street, right? I'm, getting an ego, my head, I'm getting a big head, thinking I'm so great, all this. Eventually he would come to a point where he would try so hard and work so hard at it, and he was determined to get better. He would eventually beat me. He would eventually come to a point where he had a certain level of skill that he had developed over so much time and commitment and endurance from failing and learning and failing and learning, that he eventually had an upper hand. And I hadn't put in the work. I hadn't put in the same amount of work to get to that point of endurance. Understanding that failure is a gift is actually just a shift in perspective. And so if we understand that every failure leads to a greater success, every failure leads us to a greater opportunity to be in alignment with our purpose. If we understand that every failure is a divinely guided key, a divinely guided message from the universe for us to make a shift, make a change, we start to come into a different way of being when it comes to success, failure, and truly, ultimately, what we're after is a deep fulfillment. And that fulfillment is only really going to come from our acceptance that we're being guided by something greater than us. That we are living in a beautifully guided, divine, friendly, benevolent universe. And we are in the hands of something that is all-loving and all-powerful. And having that understanding, having that perception, having that, even if we don't quite see it yet in our reality, just following that belief over and over and over until eventually it just changes for you. And you start to really recognize it. Because a lot of it, we've been patterned to believe that everything is against us. Believe that we're just a failure because we can never get where we're trying to get, never succeed, and it's really just the universe trying to show you, just keep going. It's guiding you towards your true purpose. It's guiding you to what you're truly meant for and what's truly meant for you. So, I hope that this video was a great help to you, my friend, and if it was, subscribe down below, leave a comment, and if you want, book a free session with me to help you find your true purpose, and I would be blessed to connect with you one-on-one. So with that being said, no further ado, subscribe and like, comment below, and peace and love.